All right, here's an update, and it's not looking good for Pooh Shiesty right now. If you missed the previous video in this story, make sure you go back and check it out for the full context. Federal investigators have reportedly recovered surveillance footage connected to the alleged incident involving Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane. According to prosecutors, the footage allegedly shows Pooh Shiesty and several others holding Gucci Mane during the confrontation, allegedly pressuring him to verbally confirm that Pooh Shiesty was being released from his contract with 1017 Records. Now, earlier on, Pooh Shiesty's legal team maintained that prosecutors had no real evidence, no footage, no recovered jewelry, and no actual signed contract to point to. But here's where things shifted. On June 11th, Pooh Shiesty's defense filed a motion asking the court to reconsider his detention order and release him under a proposed set of conditions. Then, 11 days later, federal prosecutors responded with a 25-page filing urging the court to deny that motion, citing what they describe as additional supporting evidence. And as I mentioned in the previous video, prosecutors have also argued to the court that Pooh Shiesty poses a danger to the community.
Says rapper Pooh Shiesty is simply too dangerous to be out on bond. The rapper's real name is Lontrell Williams Jr. He is asking to be released on bond ahead of his trial. And you may remember he and 8 other men, including his father, are accused in the January robbing and kidnapping of his record label owner Gucci Mane. The other defendants, including Shiesty's father and rapper Big 30, they're already out on bond, but here's this new filing. Prosecutors argue Shiesty should not be allowed out under any circumstances. They say no condition of release can protect the community or witnesses against Williams Jr. from the danger he poses. It goes on to say the danger here is concrete. Williams Jr. himself has shot at least 2 people. He leads a Memphis street gang of about
That's the context behind those surveillance images federal prosecutors released related to the alleged Pooh Shiesty robbery case. Along with that, the evidence package also reportedly includes previously submitted text message records, a victim impact statement, and documentation of alleged prior violations of Pooh Shiesty's bond conditions. Now, some of you might be wondering, whose victim impact statement is this? Is it from Gucci Mane himself or someone else connected to the case? According to reports, this particular statement comes from Gucci Mane's security detail, specifically an off-duty police officer who was reportedly present during the alleged incident. That same individual has now written directly to the judge, asking that Pooh Shiesty remain in custody, citing serious safety concerns for himself and his family. He states that the defendant was reportedly aware he was a retired law enforcement officer, and states that this knowledge did not prevent the alleged actions from occurring. He explains that, of all the individuals involved in the case, he is the only one residing in Texas, which adds to his fear about being reachable if bond were granted. He goes on to describe how these alleged actions reportedly took place while the defendant was already under government-monitored release conditions, and references a previous incident in which the defendant had allegedly been involved in another situation that resulted in someone being shot despite being under those same monitoring conditions. He and his wife, he writes, have real concerns about what might happen if release is granted again. He describes the toll this has taken on his family, constantly watching for unfamiliar vehicles near his home and limiting his children's ability to play outside or go about normal daily activities due to ongoing fear. He closes by respectfully asking the court to weigh his family's safety and security in its decision, expressing his belief that continued detention is necessary to prevent further harm. Now, I'll be honest with you all, reading through that statement, if I were the judge, I'd find it pretty compelling. It paints a clear picture of a family living under real, ongoing stress because of this situation. It's also worth remembering that 2 other individuals connected to this case, Big 30 and Pooh Shiesty's father, have already been released from custody while awaiting trial. So even without Pooh Shiesty himself being released, there's still a broader question about what could happen given that others tied to the case are already out. Some of you may be surprised that Gucci Mane's security personnel would submit a statement like this, but honestly, this doesn't come as much of a surprise to me, especially after Gucci Mane released a diss track addressing the alleged robbery in detail. At that point, it became clear that both sides were prepared to use every available avenue, including testimony, as the case moves forward. From what's been reported, Gucci Mane went into that meeting expecting a standard business conversation, not the situation that allegedly unfolded. And depending on which accounts you believe, had his security not stood down, the situation could have escalated significantly further. This case clearly carries real stakes for everyone involved, and there are still a lot of unanswered questions, including why those affected haven't simply relocated, whether for safety or otherwise. But ultimately, for someone in the security guard's position, protecting his family understandably has to come first.